Okay, so here's the deal, Brendan. Because I have all these fucking beautiful chips right now, I decided to let you live. Because I knew when you tried to bluff me on that turn card, you had dog shit. And I had dog shit.
It was
myself.
on the flop.
It doesn't matter. I was going to stick it to you. I was going to.
How did you know I was bluffing? Do I have a towel?
You know what? What are you going to have? I told you I had 2 pair, and you still bet? Come on. Give me a break, son. Give me a break, son. You do a vlog? About what?
Playing poker, trying to live the dream. I like to think so.
Holy shit.
On day one, I played the $1,500 six max. It was pretty sick actually. I bought in and sat down, and there's just me and like 4 dead stacks. I can't start playing until there's at least 2 people, but there's 2 stacks that aren't going to be in play when someone turns up. And then the first guy to turn up, so I'm basically playing heads up with 2 dead stacks against this guy, is Chris Mormon. So I had to play heads up with him for a little bit. There was one big hand where someone 4-bet me with ace-5 off and ended up hitting a flush that was a pretty big part. And I had a chance to re-enter, came back, and then pretty much first hand I just jammed 7s versus a cut-off open for like 20 bigs into kings. So that was that done. I went to last minute raise to 1600 at the Wynn. I raised with ace-king, guy 3-bets to more than half my stack. I jammed with like 20, 25 bigs, whatever I had. And he tank calls with freeze. He tank calls with freeze once he put in more than half my stack, and then he calls. Like there's no justice there, right? Just the tank, like I don't mind losing, but the tank call. And then I went to play the $1,100 satellite, like a hyper turbo at the Rio. The top 2 prizes were getting 10k, third was getting a cash prize, and I busted 5th. Yeah, it's a hyper, so it's high variance, but I was pretty close there. And I think they did a deal as soon as I busted too, just for the little extra needle. On day 2, I went to play the Millionaire Maker. Literally first hand I sit down and I bust. I just got it in with queens, so that was fun. I re-enter, I run a little bit better, like win some flips. My table's pretty good. Towards the end of the day, a reg opens, someone else calls middle position. I squeeze the big blind with queens. The first guy calls. And the way he called, I had the idea that he was never folding, so I was kind of scared he had like aces, but I thought, get a good board, I can't not get it in when the stack to pot ratio is so low. The flop comes queen high, which is the dream. I bet really small, he puts me all in, and he has kings. So that was pretty lucky, and I just hold. I ended up having like over 200k towards the end of the day. Raising the cutoff with 10-9 suited, the big blind 3-bets small, so I make it like 5k, he makes it 17. And we're playing like nearly 100k, so I call with 10-9 of clubs. It comes queen 8-6 with 1 club, he bets. I just put him all in for 80k. Like, I think I just have to run it at that point with a double gutter and a backdoor flush draw. If he's got jacks, he's in a tough spot. If he has a bluff, he just has to fold like an ace-high bluff. If he has ace-king, he just folds. But he has kings, so I've got like my 8 outs twice and a backdoor flush draw and my brick. Which, it is what it is. So I ended up bagging like 100k. And then on day 3, I went to play a 1-day 1k at the Wynn. And it was not really that eventful.
That's a bad window card.
I got it in with like ace-10 suited when we were kind of close to the money, into kings, and then busted. And then day 4, I play my second day of the Millionaire Maker, which went reasonably well. I ended up losing a 320k flip where I got it in with a nut flush draw against jacks on like a 9-high board, and I lose. And then I have to get like my last little bit of chips in when I'm put all in the big blind and lose the flip.
Oh wow, I have a bet.
Fortunately, that gave me time to go into the flip and go, which is where you pay $1,000, everyone just gets put all in at a table of 8.
Fuck, somebody got 4. Wait. 6? Just, is my 6 live? No one has? Oh, you've got 8-9. Jack.
Whoever wins just gets put straight into the money with the last 12.5% of players. Pretty fun concept, although it's super high variance, because there were some people that did like 26, 27 bullets, so they spent 27k on this tournament and they didn't make the money. So that's just pretty baffling. I think it should have been a much smaller buy-in. I only had time to play 2 before they stopped running them.
Does anyone have?
You're the only one with spades. Your spades are live. And my 6 is live. And my 4 is live. Just a 6 or a 4. Nothing. So that's just a 6 or a 4. Aye.
Trips, yeah, you got it. Great.
I told you the winner. Oh shit.
And then after that, I still had time to go play the Venetian, so I went to jump in there, the 1100, pretty big guarantee. Had a pretty nice day, spun it up. I also found out a GTO drink, which is to get a virgin cocktail. So I got a virgin strawberry daiquiri. So I bagged a pretty nice stack there. Day 5, came back really close to the money. I kind of blind down, not much happens, and like 104 left, 90 paid. And the big blind's sitting out, and I have ace-king offsuit with 11 bigs. So I just go all in, and someone finds 10s. I busted pretty close to the money there, pretty unfortunate. But that meant I got to go play the 2.2k mystery bounty. Really great tournament, someone there gets to win 250k. It's just a random bounty on day 2. Pretty cool concept. I ended up doing 3 bullets in the 2.2k, which is pretty annoying, but the tournament was great. I just busted the 2.2k at the Wynn. I am going to go back and re-enter. First of all, early on, I was off to a great start. Got it in with a set against one pair for like a massive part. I ended up getting up to 75k, starting with 30k. I get in a pretty difficult spot where under the gun kind of recreational player limps for 300. A reg, or like seems like a reg, raises to 1500, 5 big blinds in the cutoff. The button, another reg, 3 bets to 4000. And I'm in the small blind with queens. I cover everyone. The limp has got 29k. The first guy that raised to 5 big blinds has got 21k. And the guy that 3 bet to 4k has got 30k. So it's like 100 big blinds effective with everyone. I decided to go all in with queens. I think fold jacks, ace, jam ace king suited, jam queens, jam kings, jam aces, and then I'm not really sure what to do with ace king off there. Probably jam because I think the guy's aggressive, but yeah, it's a pretty awkward spot. But I decided to jam the queens. And then the guy that limped calls all in for his stack, so I'm like, oh, I'm dead. He obviously just have aces or kings here, because even ace king he should fold. Like queens, I think he should fold there, so I think I'm just always dead. Everyone folds, and then he has queens as well, which I think is a bad call, given like the other 2 players are still in, and like I only have queens plus, maybe ace king, and then his queens beat my queens for like a massive part. It's pretty annoying.
There it is.
I ended up busting with ace king against like kings.
I'm gonna get some of them good by filming.
Hey, pretty just innocuous. Day 6, I come and play the 2.2k again.
Yeah, you gotta push the ace forward, right? Yeah.
And again, get to the end of late reg and then bust pretty quickly. But that meant there was time to go and play the 5k. First of all, I sit down. I'm kind of short because I late regged after playing the Wynn all day. And my table was pretty bad. I was sitting there with one unknown guy on my right who was kind of older, and then the rest of them look like good regs, and some of them I know are good regs, some of them just seem like good regs, so not like the most ideal table at 6 max. And then I find out the guy that is sitting on my right is the voice of Patrick Star from SpongeBob, which was quite an experience. He also plays Marshall's dad in How I Met Your Mother, and I just got to sit there like talking to him for hours in this tournament, which was pretty cool. And he just has such a cool job. So one of the first hands, I raise with 8s in the cutoff, and then the button jams 30 bigs. I call it off, which I know I have to do with 8s. When he jams 30 bigs, sometimes he has like 9s, 10s, jacks, but sometimes they're gonna 3-bet to call because they're so strong. He either has like 7s or 6s or like 2 overs or whatever it is, but I know I just have to call with 8s, it's too strong. He has king queen and he wins the flip, so I lose half my stack in one of the first hands. First, when I sat down, I remember thinking I need to like be really focused for this tournament. I can't make any mistakes. I need to really think about things, and like it's not gonna be so easy because these are really good players. This is like a higher caliber, and weirdly, this is the sort of environment that I would say I prefer. I prefer playing in these more difficult tournaments because I really enjoy the experience. Like I feel like I learn from the people I play with. I feel like I like pull out all the stops, and like I find these like really creative ways to play hands that I feel like I wouldn't be able to necessarily do versus less capable players. And like the spots where you know you can make people fold, where other times maybe you can't, which is just not. It feels like a more pure version of poker where you're actually thinking on like a much higher level than you might need to in like all the other tournaments I've been playing. It's obviously lower for my win rate, but it's much nicer of an experience overall. My bust out hand was I raised with king 4 clubs in the hijack. The big blind was the Mr. Patrick style, who was playing pretty tight. Hijack, it's kind of close anyway when the antes are so big to open king 4 suited there. The small blind calls, new player, he's got like infinite, he's got like 700k. So when I raised and he calls, pot's not that big yet, pot's like 13k or so. I don't remember the blinds for this hand, sorry. And it comes ace of clubs, jack of clubs, 2. I bet on the bigger side, I bet like 8.5k into like 13k or so. He makes it 25k, and I'm like 95 to 100k deep. And now the problem with call is, like, he's just gonna get to jam the turn, and then I have to fold. So if he's bluffing, if he has like queen 10 of clubs, he's gonna make me fold a better draw. And he's a new player, like for all I know, he just has more bluffs. He might have like, I don't know, king queen off with the queen of clubs, or like these random stuff. And like if he's got 2s, ace 2, ace jack, the hands that are gonna call the jam, I've got 9 outs twice. And like it's pretty annoying. If I was slightly deeper, I would have just flatted in position, because then he's not gonna jam the turn. But when it sets up 1 SPR, I think people will just jam the turn. And I don't want to be made to fold the nut flush draw, so I think I just have to stick it in, as annoying as it is. I can have 4. That's awesome. He snap calls with ace 2, and the rest is history. I re-enter, actually this is pretty sick, I re-enter and I get put on a table next to Negreanu, who's drunk.
Insta-pounded it.
50.
Why did I fall for that trap?
59.
I tried to talk you out of it.
59.
You did too. How much?
59.5.
Who's this I'm playing with? Brandon?
Yes.
Random.
So Brandon raised to 4,500. The small blind called.
it's good.
Old man D-Nix re-raised from the big, and he insta-fucking jammed. So what do I need to call with? That's the question for
Do you want me to tell you?
What is the minimum hand I need to call with? Jacks or ace king? I gotta fold ace queen, right? Ace queen's a fold?
Is it suited?
No.
Yeah, fold ace queen.
Fold? Okay.
No.
Fold ace queen.
no way.
Take your money.
It's only has to do. Do you have
I'm gonna show one. Alright, I had fucking words.
We had some fun hands together. So day 2, I got 82k. I get up to like 150, playing pretty aggressively. My table's relatively nice, and then I lose ace 10 versus 7s on ace, jack, 7, 3-bet pot, where I bet and then put him all in on the turn, and yeah, I'm like whatever. Go down to 35k, which is like 15 bigs. Again, get all the way back up to 160 without being at risk.
Fair fight. What's that? Jack 10. Good luck. A10 jack to dodge.
A new player joins the table. I raise with 9s. He's just like a middle-aged Chinese guy, so I have no idea who he is, what he plays, like anything about him. I assume he's not a super pro because I don't recognize him, but that could mean really tight, that could mean random whale, like who knows. I raise in the hijack with 9s to 5k. He's on the button, makes it 13.6, and I'm like 100k deep. So like, I could jam, but I don't have the info, and like call is good, so I just call. Low variance, my table's good, don't need to go nuts. So that makes the pot 32.4. The flop comes 8, 4, 4, 2 clubs. I've got 9 of clubs, 9 spades. I check and he bets 16k, which is massive, like really big C bet here. I'm already pretty scared. Like he could just have an 8 sometimes, but it's more likely he's got like that 9s, 10s, jacks, queens type of hand, like really good now, vulnerable. I mean, maybe he's got ace king, ace queen, or king queen, who knows, because I don't know the player, but it's more likely it's like 10s, jacks. So I think I have to call, backdoor flush draw, over bet. He might just have an 8. But I'm pretty scared calling the flop already. That makes the pot 64k. I've got like 100k back at this point. The turn is a free, like beautiful card for my hand. I check and now he bets 47k, like just pretty much half of my stack without looking at my stack. If he's bluffing, like fair play to him was my thoughts at the time. I would want to jam this against some players because the size is pretty sus, but I decided to make the hero fold. I wasn't really sure. And then I get a message from a friend saying this guy's like a really fun player that plays cash and like he is very capable of bluffing. So then it made me think, oh, I've made a terrible fold here, because why would he choose that size with a good hand? I mean, I was feeling like 10 jacks queens in the moment, but like if he's capable, like he might just have random ruffles and like king queen. He might have folds to my jam on the turn. So like I wish that I'd made a different decision in this hand, but that's the way it went. A few hands later, the same, so I'm thinking like this guy's 2 to my left now. He was playing kind of passive actually, considering my friend told me it was pretty fun, but like I trusted his word for it. And then it goes raise from a reg, I free bet with aces, and he called 4 bets to like 55k, and I've got about 190k. So I call with aces out of position, he's on the button, it comes king of spades, queen of spades, like 8 or 9 of spades. I don't have the ace of spades. Pretty horrible flop, kings and queens gets there, but I just have to get it in when the pot's like 115 whatever, and I've got like 120 myself left. I check, he bets really big, I get it in, he's like, you don't have a set, do you? Cool. So I'm thinking it still might be ace king at this point, but I was thinking it's probably he's got aces as well, and if he does have ace king, he might have the ace of spades. If he's got aces, he must have the ace of spades, so it's not great, but he gets it in. He's got aces with the ace of spades. That was a pretty sick way to bust a 5k, and that, like, even if I chop that pot, I've still got loads. I'm at a great table. We're kind of getting close to the money. It would have just been like a dream spot, but so it goes. Weirdly, I didn't feel that bad after busting that hand. I don't know why. I think because of the experience of playing the 5k and like holding my own and battling with the good regs, feeling like I was doing really well. Like I felt like I was like up there on my table that day. I felt like I could have been the best player on my table on the first day. I thought I was at least like one of the best like top 2 or 3 players, and like they were really good. But I was contending with them, and I was happy to play with them. So it was a nice confidence booster. And I just had a great experience. Like, it's just really nice playing these big tournaments. So then I quickly went and jumped in the 1k. I got in with like 1 minute left to late reg.
Pretty lucky flop. Oh, close.
And double up first hand. So that was a nice way to get off tilt.
Oh, nice.
That's been going well so far, so I'm up to like 180k at the dinner break. Hopefully this one goes well and it turns around. Can't re-enter the 2.2k mystery bounty at the Wynn now, unfortunately, but 4 bullets felt like it was enough for that one, as much as I'd love to be there for the mystery bounties.
A few moments later.
The 1k was going really well. I got up to like a massive chip leader at one point, up to like 800,000. I spun it up when we got in the money. I actually got pretty lucky.
7? Chop it up. Oh, wow.
I won like 7s against kings when I went all in for like 10 bigs, which is pretty, like, run good when you're getting the money, right? That's where it counts. I spun it up, the table was great, I was opening really wide, I was winning loads of hands, and then move table, super card dead, don't get to play a hand for a few orbits, the blinds go up really fast every 30 minutes.
What'd you have?
Just a 6.
Yeah. Keep going. Yep, keep doing that. Keep doing it.
What do you want?
Yeah.
Before you know it, I've got less than 20 bigs. I jammed 6s versus a cut-off open, last 4 hands of the day, run into 9s, and I'm out. Cash for like 4,000 and something, and that one was pretty nice. I raised with ace-jack offsuit to 1800 at 400, 800. Button, good, capable, aggressive player. Makes it 5400, and I thought, it's possible he's going to be lighter here because I just lost a big pot. Maybe I'm more incentivized to kind of play a bit more passive, like gather myself and like not go too crazy, which I don't know, maybe it could be true as well, because normally I might jam ace-jack there, but I was like, I'm just going to call, because like, I feel like you can do either, and like I decided to do the more passive option, and I think calling's fine as well. So that makes the pot 12,800. And the flop is 554 rainbow. I check, he c-bet 6.5k into 25.8. Pretty easy call with ace-jack. I still crush all of his bluffs. And it's such a good price, like it's just easy call. So I check call 6.5k, that makes the pot 25.8k. Turn is the king of spades and the flop is still rainbow. I check and he bets 8,000. Now this is a spot like a few years ago that I definitely would have just folded because I've got ace-jack, no draw, no nothing. But after seeing like the hands people are supposed to bet on this turn, given that he's a good capable reg, like he still has so many draws, I beat all of them. He now doesn't bet ace-queen on this turn because it has too much showdown. I block ace-king, I block aces, I block king-jack suited. And there's just so many things in between, like you could just have queen-jack, you could just have like jack-10. And on the rainbow turn, he's gonna barrel a lot because I'm supposed to fold a lot more hands, like I don't ever turn a backdoor flush draw. I actually haven't checked if I'm supposed to call ace-jack, I think I am. But I felt like in the moment that I was ahead too often, so I called. And I just thought the river could be a really tough spot, but I think I'm good now, enough of the time to call 8,000 into a pot so big, so I call. That makes the pot 41k and doesn't leave me with that many chips, and leaves me with like 22. So he's also like less incentivized to bluff jam the river because I won't fold anywhere near as often when that's the SPR. The river pairs the 4, so now it's like 5, 5, 4, king, 4. So now I chop with like his ace-3 and ace-2 and like maybe some of his other bluffs, which is a bit annoying, but I check and he checks back and I'm good with ace-high. So that one felt like a pretty big win. After playing in the online so many hands over the pandemic, it's like being in the hyperbolic time chamber. I've played like hundreds of thousands of hands in these last 18 months or so, like more than I've ever played in that space of time, and I feel like I've got much better as a result of playing so much. And there's like all these spots like this ace-jack turn spot where I'm like, oh, I can just see a massive difference in the way I look at this spot. Like I used to definitely be too tight in too many spots and like over bluff too many spots, and it's just finding these little things about your game, and this was one of them. So this was a really nice pot to win. Okay, next hand. I have 10-8 of hearts in the small blind. Hijack, good reg, opens the 2k, and the blinds are 5 and 5, 1 and 1, so he min raises. I call the small blind with 10-8 of hearts. Good free bet. Maybe it could fold, but I think with the big ante 6 max, I don't want to fold this hand here. The big blind calls as well, so that makes the pot 7,500. It comes 7 of hearts, 5 of hearts, 4 of spades. So I have 2 overs, a gut shot, and a flush draw. The big blind now checks out of turn, when the big blind should lead sometimes on this type of board, so I take that as my cue that I can lead this board sometimes. This is a nice one to lead because I fold out a lot of hands that dominate me, like I fold out Jack 10, I fold out like Queen 10, King 10. I might fold out like some under pairs, fold out some ace highs, and I just have loads of equity and call a raise. So I lead for a third part, 2.5. The big blind folds, the other guy calls. So the pot's 12.5k. Turn is the 9 of spades, bringing a second flush draw, so now I'm open-ended to go with my flush draw. I think that he raises a lot with overpairs on the flop, so he has a lot of just 1 pair hands now, and he has like some just floats, like he might just have ace king and like just random 2 overs. I decided to bet really big on the turn. I bet 19.5 into 12.5, like more than 1.5 times pot, because this hand doesn't really want to bluff the river, so given that I'm going to give up any time that I brick the river, I want to go for as much fold equity as I can now and really try and get folds from those like 7x. So like any 7x no draw, like his 10-7 to ace-7, or like ace-5, or just like ace-king, or whatever it is. And if he has like a spade draw or a heart draw, he's going to call. If he has a pair and straight draw, he's going to call. But I still think that the extra fold equity is pretty nice with this hand, and I can just do it with 2 pairs and sets and loads of straights and good stuff as well. So it's a nice one to balance it out with. He tanks for ages and calls. The river pair's the 9, which is a pretty gruesome card because now my 2 pairs are counterfeited. It's less likely I've got a strong hand. All the draws miss. And I block some of his folds. So I block like ace-10 of hearts, king-10 of hearts, like random hands that are gonna probably fold to a river bet. So I give up, I check, which is kind of annoying because he might win with like a brick nut flush draw now, but I did really consider still bluffing this one, but it just feels too out of line. So I check, he checks back with ace-6 offsuit. So he flopped an open ender, easy call, and then the turn he called the overbet with just the open ender, which is pretty close spot for him, pretty tough. So I think he made a good call in reality. Because obviously he beats all of my draws and he has a redraw, so I think he did make a good call on the turn. Not everyone would be able to make it, so like kudos to him. And then I just bricked the super draw, so I think that hand was fine. Next hand against the same guy, I raised with 5s to 2.3k at 5, 1 and 1, like 90 big blinds deep. He free bets the small blind to 10,500. I call with 5s, easy call in position with a pair so deep. The flop comes Jack 4-3 rainbow. So the pot is 22.5k and he c-bets 6.5k, so I have an easy call with 5s, beat all these ace highs, got a backdoor straight draw, loads of good stuff going on. And he just bets so small, so it's easy, as he should bet small. So now the pot's 35.5k. The turn is an ace and it's still rainbow and he checks. So now I need to decide where do I want to pull my bluffs from. Well, maybe some hands like king queen, king 10, queen 10, like straight draws that probably don't win at showdown might be nice bluffs sometimes. And then where else do I want to pull from? Well, he might have like 6s through to 10s, and they're in a really tough spot versus a bet. Like 5s folds out the most pairs possible. I also block ace-5, and I think ace-5 is a really nice ace for him to play this way and always check all the time. And I have 6 outs if I'm behind. And it really puts pressure on his jack X as well if I bet the turn. And he's like queens and kings, which probably do call turn bet, but then they might fold the river, so I've still got like options to bluff the river sometimes. And obviously I still have loads of really good hands, loads of 2 pairs, loads of sets myself. So I do want to bluff some. I can have ace queen as well, or like ace 10 backdoor, like a lot of hands that probably want to bet to value bet the river. So I bet 17.5k, and that leaves me with like 60k back. So it sets up a nice river jam as well if I want to. And he tanks for like 3 to 4 minutes, stares at me loads, plays with his stack, and like the more he tanked, the more I was like, oh, he's actually going to fold like a really good hand, because like he's thought about it for that long, he knows it looks weak. So if he's ever got like kings or queens now, people when they tank for that long almost think like, because they've made themselves look weak, they're expecting more river aggression, so I think they don't overfold. So if he did call after that long tank, I think I was going to give up, which is kind of backwards, and like, I guess isn't all, it probably depends on the player, but I just had the impression that if he called the turn, he was probably not folding the river, and then he ends up folding, so that was a good one. Another hand, this one was pretty fun. Under the gun opens at 6, 12, 12 to 2.5k. I defend the big blind with queen 7 off. Ante's really big, so I think this one's just too good. I'm playing 6 max, so that makes the pot 6.8k. I have queen of diamonds, 7 of clubs. The flop comes 6-4-4 with 2 spades, and it goes check check. So the turn's 3 of spades, so I've got just 2 overs and a cut shot. I don't really know what his checking strategy is on this board. It's kind of hard to say, but a lot of people it's going to be like 2 overs, like ace high, king high, those type of hands. So I just bet small. I decided to go for the 2.3k bet because I've got equity. Like he can call me with whatever, and I can get there with a 5. I clear out some outs sometimes as well. If he's checked out like queen 10, queen jack, then he just folds. Unless he has a spade. This might be a slight overbluff because I don't have a spade in my hand, but I just felt like he's less likely to have a really strong hand when he checks back, and based on like the speed and everything, and I was probably planning to bluff the river on a brick as well. So he calls the 2.3, which makes the pot 11,400. And then the river is the queen of spades. Now I might have rivered the best hand, but it brings a 4 flush. So he does have a flush a lot, but there's a chance we've got the best hand. But if I check, he's probably going to bluff everything, so I always check fold, because he can just leverage that by betting really big. So I decided to do something kind of creative. I bet 1,600, like around about 10 to 15% pot, because I thought if he has a check back with like a pair, or like if he has like a 6, or if he has like a pocket pair, those might call sometimes. And it stops him from being able to do these big bluffs. So just him not bluffing me is worth a lot in this hand if I'm check folding, which I didn't think he would over this size. He now raises to 5,400, and when he raises so small, it's pretty clear to me that he's just got value. Like I don't know why his worst value starts with. It's probably like a lot of flushes. I don't think he would value raise aces, although who knows when he raises that small and I bet so small. Like default would probably be just fold, like whatever. I never have the best hand. It's a good price, but I thought once he checks back the flop and like the speed, I didn't think he was trapping the flop. And when I don't think he's trapping the flop, he doesn't have aces with a spade. He doesn't have 6s, he doesn't have quads. He probably never has queens, and I block queens. He doesn't have that many really good hands unless he's got like ace of spades, king, ace of spades, queen. I block that. Ace of spades, jack, ace of spades, like those type of hands. But there's so many other hands, and he raised so small, I thought he's probably value raising so many flushes here. I decided just to put him all in for like 23,000 because I thought he was capable of folding. If he's got the nut flush, it's a really tough spot for him, he probably calls. But if he's got any worse flush, he probably just folds. And there's so many worse flushes in this potential range to get there that I just thought he has too many folds, and when he raises that small, I think it's less likely to be the nut flush, and if he was over trapping, less likely to be a both. If he thinks that I've got the nut flush, I'm going to call any size. Or if he's got the nut flush himself, he probably thinks I'm just going to click call no matter what if I've got like a king or a jack flush or whatever. So his sizing just made me think he's slightly weaker and less likely to call, so I went with my read, went all in. He tanked for ages and folded, so that was pretty nice. A hand against the same guy, I have ace 6 offsuit, folds to me in the small blind, 1k, 1500, 1500. So I'm supposed to play like a heavy limp strategy here when the small blind's so close to the big blind. I call with ace 6 off. Could probably raise as well, but I decided to call. I could limp raise, could limp call. He checks back, so the pot's 4.5k. It comes king 6-2 rainbow. I bet 1500, one big blind, he calls, so the pot's 7.5k. Turn pairs the 6, brings a flush draw. I don't have a spade. Beautiful card. I should have like pretty much the nuts every time now. I bet 2.5k, he calls, so now the pot's 12.5. I keep my range nice and wide as well. And I get loads of folds with that size on the turn when I bet so small on the flop. And the river's a 9, so I thought if I bet, he's just going to click call with a king. He has some bluffs, so if I check, he's probably going to value bet a king, and I can try check raise. If he ever has a 6, he's always going to bet, but I guess he would raise, but then it's hard for him to call a river free bet. So what's the best way of me getting value here? I thought I had a pretty active image at the table. I'm going to go for like a massive check raise, and if you ever hear a checks back a king, I'll be a bit annoyed, but whatever. I checked, he bets 6,400 into 12.5k. Because of my image at the table and like the free bet bluff jam and like all this other stuff that had happened, I decided to get really greedy and I went for the 37k check raise of 6.4, because I just thought if he's got like a 6, he's never folding, and if he's got a king, I'm gonna be super polar and like maybe he makes the crying call sometimes. Sometimes he might even have like king 9 or king 2 and feel obligated to call no matter what because he knows I'm capable of bluffing. He tanks for ages and gives it the I just can't fold this to you call and mucks. So I don't know if he had a 6 or a king actually. I like to think he must have had a 6, but who knows. So I win a huge pot there. So the final tally for this week is I played 19 tournaments and lost just over $27,000. There's $3 reg fees when you buy in with Bravo, so I've included those in my buy-ins. I played a $400 tournament online as well, but I'll keep online separate. So that brings the final tally up to 27 tournaments played, and I've lost just over $34,000. So it's not been so great so far, but the fields are great. I think I'm playing really well. I think my mental game is doing really good. Like the way I'm feeling when I've made a few mistakes, and the way that how I felt after losing, and like my self-talk, and like my optimism levels, my like focus, my presence. I've been really proud of myself for how I've done so far. So I genuinely don't feel bad. Like it sounds silly, but like this is just tournament poker. As long as I know I'm playing good and like I think I have a good win rate in what I'm playing, then the rest is just noise. And I had a great experience this week playing the 5k. I had more reassurance that the fields are really good, that I do have a very good win rate in these fields, and like that's all that matters really. Just find stuff to be grateful and happy for. Like I get to live in Vegas for 2 months and play all these like really nice tournaments. No fear of missing out this time because I'm actually here. Like I can't think of what would have happened. I'm actually living it, so I'm pretty happy. So next week there's the MSPTs at the Venetian, $1,100 and $1,600. I think they're both million guarantees. And there's the Monster Stack, which is one of the best tournaments. It's just a 1k freeze out, and the winner normally gets over $1 million. I think it's an hour clock throughout as well. Like just a really nice slow tournament. So that'll be a fun one to play. Yeah, there's plenty of other like 500 to 2k tournaments. I'm not sure if there's anything bigger next week. There might be one 5k at the World Series that maybe I'll play. I'm not sure yet. Yeah, but so far so good, I guess, in terms of like how I'm playing, my approach to things, how I feel, and that's all that matters. I haven't had any days off yet. I haven't felt like I needed them yet. I felt kind of close when I lost with those queens against queens. I lost aces against aces. I was starting to like, oh, here we go again. I felt it, but I didn't feel like it was impacting me enough to stop yet. Like, and I haven't, like when I played afterwards, like I think I played really good, and that's all I'm focused on. As soon as I'm like, if I notice myself not playing so good or not being so confident or not just feeling good in general, I will take a day off. I have taken a few like mornings and evenings off when it's applicable as well, and I think that's helped a lot, and tried to like do as much non-poker stuff as I can in those times. But yeah, so far so good, and thanks for watching. I'll see you again for week 3. Please like, comment, share, all the good stuff, especially for me getting to talk about philosophy with Patrick Starr. Like, who would have thought? That's pretty crazy. But yeah, thanks for watching. See you next week.
Is this the Krusty Krab?
No, this is Patrick.